Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel, where I share the most terrifying and true stories of the paranormal. Today, I have 3 chilling tales of ghostly encounters that will make your skin crawl. If you enjoy this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more spooky content. Now, let's get started. The first story is from a Reddit user, who claims to have experienced a haunting in their friend's house. They write, "I was staying over at my friend's house for a sleepover. We were both 12 years old, and we decided to watch a horror movie in the living room. The house was old and creaky, and it always gave me the creeps. But I didn't want to seem scared, so I agreed to watch the movie with him. We were about halfway through the movie, when we heard a loud thump from upstairs. We paused the movie and looked at each other, wondering what it was. My friend said it was probably his cat, and we resumed the movie. A few minutes later, we heard another thump, followed by a dragging sound, like someone was pulling something heavy across the floor. We paused the movie again, and my friend said he would go check it out. He told me to stay put, and he went upstairs. I waited for him to come back, but he didn't. I started to get worried, and I called his name. No answer. I called again, louder. Still no answer. I decided to go upstairs and look for him. I grabbed a flashlight and walked up the stairs. The house was dark and silent, except for the occasional creak. I reached the second floor, and I saw his bedroom door was open. I walked in, and I saw him lying on the bed, with his eyes wide open. He looked terrified, and he was pointing at something behind me. I turned around, and I saw a dark figure standing in the corner of the room. It had no face, no features, just a black shape. It was holding a bloody axe in its hand. It looked at me, and it raised the axe. I screamed, and I ran out of the room. I ran downstairs, and I grabbed the phone. I dialed 911, and I told them what happened. They said they would send someone right away. I waited in the living room, shaking and crying, until the police arrived. They searched the house, and they found my friend's body on the bed, with a deep wound on his chest. They also found the axe, but they didn't find the figure. They said it was probably a burglar, who broke in and killed my friend. But I know what I saw. It was not a human. It was a ghost. A ghost that haunted that house, and killed my friend. That was the first story. How did you like it? Let me know in the comments. The second story is from a website called Your Ghost Stories, where people share their real-life paranormal experiences. This one is from a user named Jessica, who says she encountered a ghost in her hotel room. She writes, "I was on a business trip, and I had to stay in a hotel for a few nights. The hotel was nice and modern, and it seemed like a good place to stay. I checked in, and I got the key to my room. It was on the 3rd floor, room 314. I took the elevator up, and I walked to my room. I opened the door, and I entered. The room was spacious and clean, with a king-sized bed, a TV, a desk, and a bathroom. I put my suitcase on the bed, and I decided to take a shower. I went to the bathroom, and I turned on the water. I stripped off my clothes, and I stepped into the shower. The water was warm and relaxing, and I started to wash my hair. As I was rinsing the shampoo out of my hair, I heard a knock on the bathroom door. I thought it was odd, because I was alone in the room. I ignored it, and I continued to shower. Then, I heard another knock, louder and more urgent. I turned off the water, and I wrapped a towel around me. I walked to the door, and I opened it. There was no one there. I looked out into the hallway, and I saw no one. I shrugged, and I closed the door. I thought it was probably a prank, or a mistake. I went back to the shower, and I turned on the water. I finished washing my body, and I turned off the water. I dried myself off, and I put on a robe. I walked out of the bathroom, and I saw something that made me freeze. On the bed, there was a message written in blood. It said, "Get out. I gasped, and I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I looked around the room, and I saw no one. I grabbed my phone, and I ran out of the room. I ran to the reception, and I told them what I saw. They looked at me like I was crazy, and they said they would send someone to check it out. They gave me another room, on a different floor. I went to the new room, and I locked the door. I called my boss, and I told him I wanted to leave the hotel. He said he would book me a flight for the next day. I spent the night in the new room, without sleeping. I was too scared to close my eyes. The next day, I checked out, and I left the hotel. I never found out what happened in room 314, or who wrote the message. But I know it was a ghost. A ghost that didn't want me there. That was the second story. Did it scare you? Let me know in the comments. The third and final story is from a book called Ghost Stories of an Antiquary, by M.R. James, a famous author of classic horror stories. This one is called The Mezzotint, and it tells the story of a mysterious picture that changes every night. Here is a summary of the story. A man named Mr. Williams works as a curator at a museum. He collects and studies old pictures and paintings. One day, he receives a package from an antique dealer. It contains a mezzotint, which is a type of print made by engraving a metal plate. The mezzotint shows a large country house, with a lawn and a tree in front of it. Mr. Williams thinks it is a boring and ordinary picture, and he puts it aside. He doesn't notice that the picture has a strange feature: it changes every night, when no one is looking. The next day, he takes a closer look at the mezzotint, and he sees something different. The picture now shows a figure on the lawn, near the tree. It looks like a man, wearing a hat and a coat. He is crawling on his hands and knees, towards the house. Mr. Williams is puzzled, and he thinks it is a mistake. He shows the picture to a colleague, who confirms that the figure was not there before. They decide to keep an eye on the picture, and see what happens next. The following night, the picture changes again. The figure on the lawn is closer to the house, and he is holding something in his hand. It looks like a long, thin object, with a sharp end. Mr. Williams and his colleague are intrigued, and they wonder what the figure is doing. They also notice that the house has a light in one of the windows, on the second floor. They assume that someone is inside the house, unaware of the danger outside. The next night, the picture changes once more. The figure on the lawn is now at the door of the house, and he is about to open it. The object in his hand is clearly a knife, and he has a sinister expression on his face. Mr. Williams and his colleague are alarmed, and they fear for the person in the house. They also see that the light in the window has moved to another room, on the same floor. They wonder who lives in the house, and why the figure wants to kill them. The final night, the picture changes for the last time. The figure on the lawn is gone, and the house is dark and silent. The only light is from the moon, which casts a pale glow on the scene. Mr. Williams and his colleague are curious, and they examine the picture closely. They see something that horrifies them. On the tree, in front of the house, there is a body hanging from a branch. It is the body of a child, with a bloody wound on his chest. The child is the son of the owner of the house, who was murdered by the figure on the lawn. The figure was a former servant, who had a grudge against his master. He had escaped from prison, and he had come to the house to take his revenge. He had killed the child, and he had hung him on the tree, as a sign of his hatred. He had also killed the father, who was the person in the window. He had stabbed him in his bed, and he had left him there, to be found by the police. The mezzotint was a record of his crime, and it showed the events as they happened, night after night. Mr. Williams and his colleague are shocked, and they decide to destroy the picture. They burn it in the fireplace, and they never speak of it again. That was the third and final story. Did it give you nightmares? Let me know in the comments.